Mom, I did all my chores. I'm ready to go into town now. Sweetheart? I need you to run to the aisles and never look back. I am about to get into your bukkake. That was the intro to Claire's Quest, and while it may seem like a pretty standard intro if you're familiar with my videos, Claire's Quest doesn't just stop there. Once you escape to the aisle, you actually find your mom again, and there's an entire quest line about restoring her sanity by defeating her trauma.
It's one of the most powerful quest lines I've played through in one of these disturbing RPG Maker games. Yeah, you should probably stay to the end of the video and we discuss it.
For now, though, I should probably explain what Claire's Quest even is. Claire's Quest is an early access dark fantasy open world RPG where your home continent fell to the monsters and you escaped to another. If you saw my LonaRPG video, it's basically a baby version of that game. You explore a big open world, find quests organically, complete them in any order, and experience psychological warfare through gooner images if you die. But unlike LonaRPG, where the goal is to escape the evil island, in this game, you've already escaped. In Claire's Quest, your goal instead is to figure out what happened and I suppose stop it from happening again, which is arguably a bit less compelling, though it is a major breath of fresh air compared to the constantly oppressive and horrible atmosphere of LonaRPG. It still tackles many similar themes though, such as refugees fleeing war being treated poorly, but Claire's Quest has more moments of reprieve and peace. That's not to say you don't encounter evil beyond comprehension. I've seen too many furry gangbangs to be saying that, but this is a lighter game overall, and the evil takes a little bit of digging or being really unlucky to discover. Speaking of needing to do a little digging, unfortunately playing this game is not as easy as just buying it on Steam. It doesn't have all the content. Why? Well, allegedly because the full version features Little Boy Diddy scenes and Steam doesn't like that. So, if you want those scenes, you're gonna have to get it from the dev's Patreon.
Quick side note, I was actually just recently admitted to law school, and I now think frequently about how making these videos are going to impact my future, and it's really hard to discuss this kind of content because so many games cover it so flippantly or just do it as fetish fulfillment, and then the few games that do cover it seriously don't get given the benefit of the doubt. And now Claire's Quest does have some struggles in covering this content, and I'll get into my thoughts on that more later. I just wanted to put a quick aside here that yes, this is really weird, and yes, I'm going to talk about it seriously later. This isn't just shock value.
Anyways, now you know what this game's about, but what is playing it actually like? Well, it's an RPG Maker game. End of statement. This game doesn't have any systems that are particularly crazy. Most of it is just walking around on a tile grid and interacting with things or chugging through long strings of dialogue. The mechanics it does have are simple RPG Makerized versions of more complex systems. For example, it has a stealth system, but all that means is that if you're in the grass, you can't be seen, and if you sprint or leave the grass, you can be seen. You can also throw projectiles, though only in a straight line, and I barely ever used it. Compare this to something like LonaRPG, which is also an RPG Maker game, but there you can turn without walking forward, select the exact tile you want to throw projectiles to, and the enemy detection system is a bit more robust. The draw of this game is definitely more the world and characters anyways, but I know some people out there care about gameplay for whatever reason, so it's worth mentioning. There's more than just the stealth system, but this trend of being simplified continues across every system in the game. For example, there are 4 traits that Claire can improve in. As far as I can tell, these don't dynamically affect the game like they do in my game, Grimdelve, which you can wishlist now on Steam, but instead they just act as skill checks for dialogue. If you don't have enough of X, you can't do X, or you fail and die, or worse. This kind of just gives the illusion that you control who your character becomes, because while certain paths do open themselves up to you, Claire is still more or less the same person regardless of her attribute makeup.
Unlike in my game Grimdelve, where you can also choose your character traits.
Finally, there's a hunger and energy mechanic. When Claire does something difficult, it's supposed to exert energy. Keyword being supposed, because half the time things that feel like they should take energy don't, and things that feel like they shouldn't take energy do. Also, hunger only depletes when you sleep, so you trade hunger for energy and then have to replenish hunger with food. Because of how unevenly energy is taken away though, this mechanic mostly just serves to interrupt the flow of gameplay and drag out playtime. Especially when you're following certain quest lines and then at the end of each little segment you full rest and it's supposed to restore all your stats, which it doesn't do and which you didn't even hardly use up during the quest anyways. Basically the whole time I was playing I was kinda just thinking what the hell is even the point of having hunger and energy? I've been shitting on all the mechanics so far, but I can't deny that I did, in spite of that, find myself addicted to this game. What really helps Claire's Quest is the feeling of moving up in the world. There are huge things you can invest in and always something to be spending money on. Money doesn't come easy either. It's always either a big time investment in tediously having to restore energy and health, or in completing a long quest line, so everything you invest in has high stakes. Not every game needs complex mechanics to be fun, and the setting and characters of Claire's Quest are good enough to be a fun reward for making it through the bare-bones systems. The last thing I want to say about the mechanics is the quest designs. Generally, quests entail talking to one person, walking to another place, and talking to someone else. Sometimes you have to go interact with shiny objects or complete a stealth section. It's pretty brainless work, but the escalation of each quest through the writing keeps it really entertaining. It's especially satisfying when a previous quest you've completed influences your current quest. That really makes the player feel like what they're doing matters. So once again, what could have been pretty mediocre is actually really fun, except for the longer bits of backtracking, which make me want to end my life. Now, all that said, usually a quest line ends with a big, exciting boss fight, and these are easily the most mechanically interesting parts of the game. Sometimes the simplicity of the mechanics still makes them a little bit lackluster, but it is pretty cool the stuff that's accomplished here. For example, in one, you have to pour water on 3 shrines. Each time you step out of the grass, a timer ticks down before you get hypnotized and touched inappropriately. So you have to sprint between hiding places while also then avoiding an enemy trying to grab you. It's better than the normal mechanics, but still pretty easy to get through. This game's not going to challenge you in terms of its gameplay. You can even skip certain gameplay segments if you want. Where it does challenge you is in its morality and exploration of difficult themes, like are you a furry, or will you help horses goon for money, or do you think that's kinda weird? Considering the lengths Claire will go to in order to survive as a refugee is interesting, even if these are probably just intended to be avenues to include different fetishes in the game. The adult content is used to tell compelling stories on occasion, such as in the questline with your mom that I will get to shortly. First though, I want to discuss the graphics and sound. Visually, I mean, this looks like an RPG Maker game, though one with a high budget and nice mapping. Most areas are filled with unique, interesting things to look at, and the tile set itself looks pretty nice. What helps the most, though, are the animated custom sprites, which add a ton of life and movement to maps that would otherwise be completely still. I mean, just look at that. As soon as I saw this, I immediately had to be inspired by it for my game Grimdelve, because it just puts the game on a whole other layer of vibrancy and immersion. There are some really cool monster and animal designs too, which make the world feel unknowable and magical, even when everything around it kinda looks like generic fantasy slopcore.
I am not crazy.
The lighting and sound are what really leave a lot to be desired. It's pretty much either just bright or dark. Occasionally, there are faint lighting effects, mostly fires, and when the rare particle effect shows up, I feel a more euphoric release of pleasure than when the adult art shows up. Speaking of art, it's mostly really good, though sometimes characters' faces look really fucked, or maybe I'm just mean, and there's also a truly unbelievable amount of weird shit. For some of you, that's probably a selling point, but when I'm just trying to be a good person and am tricked into being a tree-hugging, furry sex pest, I get a little upset. Sometimes the need to goon gets in the way of player choice, because even with me setting out to be a pure soul on a lifetime no-fap streak, I frequently accidentally found myself doing the craziest possible goon tactics, or at least bearing witness to it. Now, I suppose it's kind of realistic that gooning is getting in the way of proper decision-making. I mean, that surely happens every single day with every single man. But yeah, if you like playing these games and trying to avoid this stuff, you've got your work cut out for you.
On a similar note, in some scenes where characters are receiving an unwanted sausage delivery, their facial expressions still show ecstasy or pleasure, which is a really confusing, contradictory emotion to leave the player with, and is almost reframing the victim of an abuse to then have power over the situation, which maybe sounds good on paper, but it also kind of downplays the severity of the moment, and it just, I don't know, I was sitting there just flabbergasted and not sure how to feel. So maybe it's a good thing. I'm gonna lean towards it's not, and it's a little more Gooner slop territory for me, but play the game and draw your own conclusions on that one.
I mentioned the sound as an issue in this game, but the music itself is actually really good. So far, I've been mostly shitting on this game, but I can't deny that I really like it. So what gives? Have I fallen to the womanly charms of weird fetish art, or is there something of substance here? In order to hopefully prove that there is, it's time we explore the quest line with your mom that I teased at the start of this video. At the start of the game, right after you escape the continent, you get to choose which island you end up on. I chose Velos, and some exploring later, I happened across your mom. Her mind is completely lost after the horrors she went through, which at this point we can only guess at what they were. A little questing later, and your mom wanders off into a forest. When you find her, she is singing the title screen song to two fairies, which is also the song she sang you as a child.
After the fairies realize that you're the one who helped out the rangers, which blew my mind when a previous quest actually came up again, you gotta go do a little fetch quest and then you go to the spirit world to find your mom.
Here we find our mom stuck having nightmares thanks to this creepy bastard. First, we see her dreaming of a time when Claire was lost in the woods. But in her alternate nightmare version, Claire is killed by wolves. Claire has to sing the title screen song to her mom in order to bring her mom to her, which, no, this is not gameplay at all, it happens in a cutscene. This works, everyone but Nightmare Man is happy, and out we go. But Claire's mom is not yet fully restored, and now the Nightmare guy knows you're coming. Well, either way, off we go again to save our mommy's milkers. I immediately feel bad about making that milkers joke because this time we get to see what our mom saw after she was captured. It is gruesome, and the fuck-ass Nightmare guy just makes it worse. This is literally the most vile line of dialogue I have ever read in a video game. I challenge you to find one worse than this, and if you do, join the Toasty Discord, link in the description, and share it. Now thoroughly traumatized and still feeling bad for that milkers joke, we get karmic retribution by taking the perspective of our mom and getting to see this horror in full HD artwork. Now, there is a lore inconsistency here, but I'll discuss that in a sec. Within this hellscape of women being abused and the frickin' pig guys just going apeshit, we need to find some way to give our mom hope. Here we get some semblance of gameplay as we must choose between 3 different rifts. Each one will give our mom a different vision, but which is the right one? I chose the one where knights come storming in to save everyone, giving our mom hope and once again pulling us from the nightmare. By the way, the lore inconsistency is that this church girl shouldn't actually be here because we learned from a previous line of dialogue that the defenders had requested the aid of the church people, but they never actually showed up, and it turned out to just be the monsters wearing the church people clothing and ambushing them. Anyways, we're not done yet. We still have one more nightmare to conquer, and this one is by far the most bleak. We see our mom in the jail of the pigmen. Obligatory group scene over, and we get this heart-wrenching line of dialogue that literally almost instantly made me cry because I'm a big sap over the lovely Miss Toasty, and this just hurt my heart. These pigmen are real sick fucks, by the way. This might be the most disturbing monster we've seen in one of these games yet.
I was gonna explain exactly what they do to you, but I think even this wouldn't be able to protect me at that point, so we'll just leave it at they mess you up so bad that you end up diddying your own half-pig children.
Anyways, this is the fate that awaits your mom, but she's still filled with determination, so she crawls over to the water bucket and is about to clean out her hoo-ha with it when a nearby voice calls out telling her not to. This is Marie, and she says the water is what drove her last cellmate insane. So in order to not go insane, they have to drink no water, and in order to not get pregnant, they gotta just dig in their butt twin, which is definitely not how any of that works, but I don't want to think about this anymore. Transported now to a new scene, it just gets worse as the pigmen go nuts with nut all over Castle Rainier. There is more vile dialogue, and we again take the perspective of our mom as she is forced to crawl towards the pig boss, who is currently, guys, I can't do this, Marie's fucked. The knights come in to save everyone, but in the panic to escape, your mom jumps from a balcony holding Marie. She lives, but Marie cracks her head on the pavement and dies, and that pushes your mom over the edge. You again get to choose which rift to show your mom, and because she's been clutching the blue ribbon that's been in Marie's hair the entire time, I obviously chose Marie, which restores your mom's mind, and when you and your mom reunite again in the real world, she sings you your childhood song. Fighting through terror, thinking every blonde girl is her daughter, somehow your mom makes it back to you. Most of these games just kill off the parents ASAP, but in keeping this questline, it can touch on family during hard times in a really powerful way. This might not affect everyone, but this is just one questline, and many more of them are written in this same tender and heartfelt way. So despite the lackluster mechanics and sometimes gratuitous sex scenes, this is a game full of heart and passion, and it does have something to say. So while I'm torn on it, and I do think there are things in here that are really, really bad, I do recommend you check out Claire's Quest, probably when it's on sale.
But, you know, it's also a game where you can marry a horse, so what the fuck do I know?